Hi, I'm Steve, and this is Chris. We are with the Sandbag store, and we're going to go through setting up the ultimate bagger. These are the tools that you're going to need. You can just use a simple 9/16 wrench, or you can grab a ratchet, which will be a little bit faster, or you can grab a cordless drill and be even faster yet. Then you'll need a knife to cut the plastic once you get in through the crating. We're going to start by removing the ends first, and we're going to remove everything with a 9/16 bolt on it. Now when removing the side panels, you'll start from the bottom and just work your way up, and then the whole thing will hang on that bracket right there. Okay. The 8 bolts that were used to hold the top piece of plywood down, we're going to have to save those and put those back into the hopper. Now that we've got it uncrated, let's see what's inside. We have all of our manuals. Be sure to read the manuals, and it will give you all the detailed information that you need to know to operate this machinery safely and efficiently. So now here are the included sample bags. This is our king spool of thread. It should sew about 10,000 sandbags. Foot activation switch is what you use to turn the sewing machine on and off. Okay, now here are the extra parts for the generator. We leave these included in case you ever decide you want to use the generator outside of the machine. A forklift is a useful tool in deploying the outriggers so that you're not working on your hands and knees. Okay, so to deploy our outriggers, we're going to remove these bolts. We're going to reinstall the bolts to secure them in place. We're going to go through setting up the lower sewing system. First, we're going to rotate this slam latch out of the way. Then we're going to take this clamp, pivot it in the other direction, and that releases the belt. Okay, so we pull this out, we get it towards the edge, and then we rotate our latch so that it allows our leg to drop down. Now it's in place. Now there's a third starter skid right here that allows you to pull the back leg free and clear of the machine so that you can deploy that leg. So if you're using a different size bag, you can lower the belt the same way you raised it with this latch. To pull out the belt, we're going to have to release the 2 latches in the back. Okay, now to deploy the belt, you want to make sure that the latches are in the down position to catch the belt as you pull it out. Now that the belt and table are out of the way, it's going to be easier to get to the air compressor and the generator. On the air compressor, you will need to follow the startup procedures as outlined in the operator's manual. You will need to add oil before you run this compressor. We have provided a tank drain relocation kit so that you don't have to reach in behind the compressor in order to drain the tank, which you should do every day. Now we're going to run our air hose to our pneumatics. Now, if you're using the generator, you will need to follow the owner's manual for the generator for starting it up. This does not ship with oil, and you will need to add oil. Flip this door to add your fuel. So now we're going to mount the sewing machine, and in doing so, there is a on-off switch that you have to be careful of. When we mount this in here, it presses that, so you have to press that in to ensure that you don't damage the switch. And now you can put the cap plate on. Put the sewing machine and the mount into the post, and we can move that in or out depending on what feels most comfortable to the person sewing. So when we plug in this foot pedal, this is what controls our sewing machine to turn it on and off. We're going to set the foot pedal down that way and take this and plug this straight into our outlet. Then we plug our sewing machine into the back side of that outlet. And now you will take the cord from the lower sewing belt and plug that in as well. This outlet is controlled by that box, so when you power that box off, it shuts off the sewing machine and this lower table. The thread, we're going to kind of get it started. You need to put the sewing or the post to about where you think it needs to be from when you're sewing. You're going to take this thread guide and put it at or below this point right here. You will take your thread and you will center it directly underneath the thread guide. You can set it on the ground or on a piece of wood or something of that nature, or on a cardboard box. When you thread this, you go straight up through your thread guide, then through this plate. From this point, follow the instruction guide in the new long instruction manual. For instructions on our control box, I'm going to turn that over to Chris.
Thanks, Steve. To get started, we're going to hit the green start button. The Ultimate Bagger will boot in production mode. Production mode means we are ready to go. We can start adding bags to the spout and producing filled bags. On our display in production mode is 5 different important metrics. The first one being the fill level. The fill level is the number of centiseconds that the belt will run. In this case, we have 1.6 seconds of runtime. That's adjustable using the left and right arrows on the control box. So if we push backwards, we can shorten the amount of runtime, let's say to 1.5 seconds, and that would reduce the amount of material in each bag. Same thing goes, we can push forward and increase. If you push and hold, it'll eventually go by tens of seconds, and then finally hundreds of seconds. The next item displayed is the number of bags remaining in our pack, or some people might call that your pallet count. As you produce, this number is going to count down to 0. When it hits 0, an audible alarm will sound, and the number will reset to whatever you have set in here, in this case, 20 bags. The third line shows the number of bags produced. This is going to be a live count that doesn't reset until the actual reset button is hit. So this will count up as you produce bags. And in parentheses will the number of packs produced. Very useful for keeping track of your total production for the day. On the top right is going to be your total number of bags per hour. This is a live number that calculates your speed of production looking at the last 10 bags produced. Lastly, we have our vibration controls. This is going to be the bottom right corner. In this case, we have nothing showing. That means your vibrators are not going to run as you produce. To turn your vibrators on, we're going to hit the vibe button. V1 means vibrator number 1, or the right vibrator is going to run as you produce bags. V2 means the second vibrator is going to run. That's the left vibrator as you produce bags. And finally, V12 would mean both vibrators are going to run as you produce bags. Activating each cycle. So we're going to go ahead and start running a few cycles here. And we'll keep the screen we'll keep the camera looking at the screen. So as you can see, it's going to start showing a live number of bags produced per hour. After about 10 or 11 cycles, we should see a more realistic number to what we're producing. Our job count is counting up. Our pat count is counting down. And our live bags per hour is calculating. All right, here we are. So at this test speed, we're running 1,500 bags per hour. And as we approach 0, the pat count is going to reset. An audible alarm sound. And it'll start counting down on your next pallet. Or bulk bag or whatever you're filling. The next setting is the manual jog mode, which we can get to by pushing the mode button. Use manual jog mode to turn the belt on and off on demand. The belt can be toggled on and off by pressing the right arrow key. The belt's on, the belt's off. It can also be jogged by pressing the left arrow and holding. When it's on, when the button's pressed, it's on. When the button's released, it's off. The other way to dispense material is with the touch switch. So we can turn this on by holding, releasing turns it off. Alternatively, you can turn it on by double clicking. And then to turn it off, click it a third time. Manual jog mode is useful for emptying the hopper and filling material on demand. So production mode and manual jog mode are really the only two modes used to dispense material or fill bags. The rest of the modes are going to give you information or allow you to change your defaults. And that brings us to the next mode, our settings or default screen. The vibration runtime is a percentage of time that the vibrators run while the belt is dispensing material. So if you have a 50% vibration runtime and it's a 2-second dispense cycle, the vibrators would shake for 1 second and then shut off for the second second of dispensing. This can be adjusted by pushing the vibe button, which will reduce it by 10%. The second line is going to be our default pack or pallet count. Sometimes people want to put 100 bags in a bulk bag and they don't want to lose count. So setting this number to 100 can be adjusted with the plus and minus button. Now, as we produce bags, the pallet count will be 100. It'll count down to 0 and reset back to 100. The last line is the clamp delay. This is the amount of time that the clamps will hold the bag at the spout after the production belt stops. This lets material fall through the air before letting the bag go. It makes for a cleaner, tidier operation. Our final mode will be our bagger information mode. The bagger info is going to tell you the total number of bags produced over the lifetime of the machine. Here, 177 bags. The total number of hours in use, 1.1 hours. The date of manufacturer, here of May of 2019. And finally, the serial number of your unit. All this information is useful for the warranty, as well as keeping track of total production and maintenance. A couple small tricks. From any screen, if you press and hold mode, for 5 seconds, it'll take you back to production mode. And for factory resets, go to the setting and default screen and press and hold reset for 5 seconds.